You know it is about hope, Gonz.
The cold places.
Antarctica, the cold place will save us.
Antarctica, go burn.
Snowstorm. Antarctica. Ice scientists are penguins.
Antarctica, they're opening the abyss.
That's right. Time to check in with our favorite penguin hotspot. Ba-doom-cha. And the headline is titled, or we're over here at CBS News. And the headline is How Preet-A Smashed the Glass Ceiling into a Million Pieces with Her Trailblazing Trek to the South Pole. Here we go.
The glass ceiling has been finally broken. Now, where's Hillary?
It's an ice ceiling, Gonz.
Ice dome.
As we continue to track the ideological colonization as well as the resource extraction, the reframing of the narrative around Antarctica from desolate, quote, white desert to the promised land. It really is being sort of put into the position of promised land, at least geopolitically, the last frontier, not just of wealth extraction, but also ideological colonization. You can't have one without the other. We've been doing it for years, folks. So let's see the next step. This is a story about a remarkable journey to one of Earth's most extreme places. Extreme! And it all started with a simple Google search. A British woman named Preet-A recently skied alone to the South Pole, making history not by being the fastest to achieve the feat, but by being a trailblazer in another way.
This is a children's story? What is going on here?
In another way, Gonz. CBS News correspondent Roxana Saberi met Chandy, or Polar Preet, as she calls herself now. Ooh, burn. She calls herself? You couldn't say like her fans call her that? A little burn from CBS there. And found out why her story is inspiring people all over the world. For Chandy, breaking the glass ceiling started with ice under her feet. Quote, I remember looking on Google and typing in Polar Explorer, and I didn't see anybody that looked anything like me at all, she told Saberi. There you go. There's your first clue as to what her trailblazing is. At 32, Chandy set out to become the first woman of color to ski solo to the South Pole, dragging 200 pounds of supplies behind her the entire way. Quote, Oops. I want to... Yes?
Nope. Sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
I want to encourage people to, be proud of their skin color and proud of where they're from. She told CBS News, quote, it took me a really long time to be proud of that. Growing up in an Indian Sikh community in England, Chandy says she raised eyebrows when she joined the Army Reserves at the age of 19, but she went on to become a captain, a physical therapist, and an ultra-marathon runner. Well, then, about 2.5 years ago, she started pulling around tires when she trekked across Greenland and then Iceland. It was all training for the daunting challenge of Antarctica. Her goal was to traverse 700 miles in just 45 days. By day 7, she told people following her journey online that she was feeling a little bit tired. But even as temperatures plunged to around 60 degrees below zero and winds whipped up to 60 miles per hour, Polar Preet plowed on. She fell over a few times and had a nasty cough from the time she set out. It was Mother Nature who proved her most formidable challenger. Quote, the wind was relentless. It was so cold, and it was just like, oh, my God. I'd go down and think, this is just so hard. Chandy had never been so alone. Armed only with a satellite phone, some audiobooks by Hollywood actors Will Smith and Mindy Kaling, and her thoughts. Quote, I'm absolutely exhausted. Haven't slept for almost 48 hours. She told her online followers on day 33. Dun, dun, dun.
They never miss.
Illuminati message delivered.
It's like every single time, you think, okay, what's the takeaway? Always, we can always say, there's a 33 in there.
Yeah, but Captain Chandy refused to give up. Quote, I'd think to myself, well, I've done that day now, so I just move on to the next day. You and me both, sister.
You don't have to be trekking to the South Pole to
that's life nowadays.
Really live out that thing every day.
And move on she did from next day to the next day until
did she have a choice?
At the South Pole.
We are all bound to time.
We are bound to time. One to Gonz. I'm not going to take your negativity.
Sorry,
she's breaking the glass ceiling.
Okay.
But here we go. Now, keep in mind, everybody, the report from the Olympics, the first skeleton racer of color in the Olympics. And we can kind of compare it here. Quote, I don't want to just break the glass ceiling, she told Saberi. I want to smash it into a million pieces. And I really felt that. Some young Brits who sent Chandi messages. Will you just do a quick Goog? A list of women who have gone to the South Pole. Okay. Some young Brits who sent Chandi messages on Instagram left no doubt that she had achieved her goal. Quote, I look at her and I think she's brown. I'm brown, one young Muslim girl said, while a boy said the adventurous trek would, quote, help inspire millions and millions of other South Asian people around the world. She made her mom proud too. Quote, as I was a child, there were certain things I wasn't allowed to do, Jas Basra told CBS News, quote, and I thought, obviously, when I had my girl, I thought she'll do whatever she wants to do. And Polar Preet isn't done doing what she wants to do just yet. The next adventure, quote, the full crossing of Antarctica, she told Saberi. She would be the first woman of any color to cross the continent alone. But for this polar pioneer, there are no limits. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so there you go. Harmless, impressive as well. Impressive, relatively harmless article. Impressive feat by a woman of South Asian descent there. It's definitely a big deal. I don't know much of the records. Feels like we need to study and have the sort of accomplishments of Antarctic explorers.
Sure, there needs to be more of a they need to establish the glass ceiling.
Yeah.
In order
so
to
there you
break
go.
it.
That was my first question. Was like, what exactly is the glass ceiling here? Is she the first woman? They say the first woman of color.
They say first woman of color. I think that's the thing because here.
Well, I don't know if they do call her the first woman of color to do this. Do they call that explicitly?
I don't know if they explicitly do, but it's implied. Here it says, this is AntarcticReport.com. 50 years ago, the first women arrived at the South Pole. And there were New Zealanders, American, and I think that's what it says here: New Zealander and Americans. 6 women all at the same time.
Okay, Chandi set out to become the first woman of color to ski solo to the South Pole.
Solo, I think, is the thing. Yeah.
Ski solo to the South Pole, not the full cross Antarctic.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So there you go. That's what's. It is to be praised, no matter what. It is pretty impressive for sure. 32, man. I need to do something with my life for sure. But she did it. Very impressive. Now, I don't want to take anything away from her accomplishment because it is very impressive. And very cool. And she deserves all the attention that she gets from this. It feels a little like 2016.
Right.
Right. Is that what you're feeling too?
Yeah. It's almost
feels
like
a little
throwback.
bit like really early throwback to like social justice stuff.
Yes.
And that's why I thought it was interesting for our sort of dissection of what's going on in Antarctica, because there's a lot of this, we've been calling it ideological colonization of Antarctica, which is needed to economize Antarctica. And we saw that with the luxury vacations you can take, luxury glamping vacations. You could not do that without some sort of social justice-y thing to inspire rich white liberals to spend their money in Antarctica. That's what it takes. And this feels like a little bit of a throwback to, there's nobody at this point, even with all the like sort of imaginary Nazis running around, There's nobody who thinks that like a South Asian woman can't ski to the South Pole. Right?
Yeah. No, not at all. No, I'm looking at the wiki here. Yeah, I mean, women trekking the Antarctic region goes back, 1700s. The first Western women.
There's women who made it to the South Pole, and that can't be right.
I don't know about the South Pole, but it says here this is a timeline of women in Antarctica. So maybe there's just women in Antarctica.
Yeah. Okay. Well, still, there you go.
Visiting Antarctica, I guess, is different from. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to nail down. That's what I'm saying. It's like a very nebulous thing. I did find this. Johanna Davidson from Sweden skied her way to the geographic South Pole from the Hercules Inlet. At the edge of the Antarctic continent in 38 days back in 2016. So she's Swedish, so obviously.
Yeah, so there's plenty of, well, this one's a Brit, but yeah, it's obviously been done by women. And the article makes point that, hey, it's not about her being a woman and doing it. It's about her being a brown woman and doing it. It's like, okay, guys.
Okay.
Again, it's a little bit, I don't know. Again, it's sort of like the infantilizing of, because what we're reading, keep in mind, what we're saying is not about her achievement. Her achievement stands alone as an individual human being who did an incredible thing. But then the reporter here is trying to make it about her being brown. This is the news media, not thinking that her story is good enough to stand on its own. And it's about, oh, well, she's brown, so it's extra exciting, or it's like extra impressive, which people who are sort of, clear thinking about the whole social justice media phenomenon, not social justice itself, but the media sales pitch of it. It doesn't take a genius to be like, wow, what a weird thing to sort of focus on for this incredible thing this person did.
I'm sorry. I'm just going through this list here of the wiki thing, the women of Antarctica. There's a woman named Michelle Eileen Rainey, the first woman physician to work year-round on Antarctica. And she was also the first woman to winter at the South Pole in 1978 to 79.
Wow.
So I was kind of looking her up and trying to find, just kind of digging around. And Michelle E. Rainey, born 1951, American physician, first woman over winter at an Antarctic inland station, 1979. She's association with the American Polar Society. Rainey attended Keck School of Medicine. I didn't know there was a Keck School of Medicine. Is this the green frog?
It had come up once during the pandemic. I remember we were trying to figure out what it was. But it is weird. Anyways, it's another example of how this the narrative, the reshaping of the narrative around Antarctica, becoming a center of attention right now during this sort of frontierless moment. After the pandemic. I mean, I don't think it's an accident that, everybody was locked inside and trapped ideologically and politically for, not expressing your thoughts, not going outside, not sharing your, your vaccination status or whatever. And, in a time when we're all sort of beginning to be let out into the world again. First, there's a potential World War III to try to scare us back inside, or scare us in line at least. But this attention to Antarctica to give us the feeling that there is a place to go. There's
still
frontier.
Something to be explored. Yeah,
yes.
There's still an exploration.
And it's woke. Even brown people can go there. Ooh, thanks, CBS.
Who's I guess. Hold on, I'm seeing. Korean Antarctic. Okay, never mind. There's a picture on the women's thing on the wiki page. There's a picture of an Asian woman from 2015. Yeah. Or 1991, I guess, too.
That's a good question. Did she go to the South Pole?
It looks like she did. There's a Turkish woman that went to the South Pole in 1991.
Is there a picture?
I'm trying to find a Serap Tilav.
Is she brown? Sounds like a crazy, absolute nutcase thing for me to have to ask. But I am forced to ask this because of the media reporting. So I ask again, under duress by the media, Gonz, Are any of those women of color?
I don't know. This is, I mean,
a Korean woman. Is that not of color? Are we sticking?
I
are we
like
still
Koreans,
sticking with the Asians are white thing?
I think the Asians have lost their person of color
Is
status.
that still a thing? We have not
don't know.
actually heard an update on that. I've recently finished The Man in the High Castle, which is about, if Nazis had won the war and taken over America.
Yeah, if, quote unquote, if. Sure.
If. And not when, Gonz. If the Nazis had taken over. And in there, they made a big deal. So the Japanese had control of the West Coast.
Yeah.
The Nazis had control of the East Coast. And there was a big thing about like how the Nazis made Japanese people honorary Aryans.
Oh.
And so this whole thing about like Asians are not people of color and they should be counted as white people is literally from a show about Nazis making Japanese honorary Aryans. Like a more direct line to Nazism cannot be made. And I'm not making it. The show made it. HBO made it. Or whoever has it. I don't know, Prime or something. So, yeah, you got to find out. Did that Turkish woman, did that Korean woman make it to the South Pole?
I don't know. This other woman, Serap Tilav, is the first Turkish woman at the South Pole. There's a Japanese. I know that one. I can't find a picture. There is a Japanese woman, Junko Tabe, who also reached. She reached 7 summits.
Well, the 7 summits is different than going ski. I guess maybe are we breaking it down to skiing?
I don't know.
Is it the skiing thing?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like, the Turkish woman made it. The Turkish woman went to the South Pole, but she snowshoed. Okay, all right. So she took a snowmobile. So that was one thing. But now, Polar Preet.
Here we go.
She gets the credit for the skiing.
94, Liv Arnesen, Norway, first woman to ski alone to the South Pole. Okay.
Was she a woman of color?
I don't think so. Norway. I mean, there's a picture of her.
What I'm saying, this woman is from Britain, so
right.
Just because she's from Norway, there are people of color in Norway.
The picture shows blue-eyed.
Okay, there is a picture.
Yeah. Okay. Dr. Aithne Rosais, the first South African woman. That's just over winter. Yeah, I don't know. They need to be a lot clearer about. There's a Fiona Thornwell and Catherine Hartley became the first British women to walk to the South Pole on foot.
So it's really the ski thing. They're just making a big deal about a brown woman on skis. That's what they're trying to point out. Look, again, a very impressive thing. This girl is an incredible athlete. It is not easy to do that, but it's the news media that is using this as an opportunity for ideological colonization of Antarctica, because there are billions and billions of dollars invested in making Antarctica a place where rich people can put their money, and also for countries, for geopolitical states to extract resources. And it can only be done if Antarctica is changed from this ownerless frontier of doom into a woke, safe place for white liberals to spend their money and also drill for oil and gold and things like that. So there you go. There's your Antarctic update. Oh, you know what? We didn't spiral off into some nonsense about Nephilim penguins and aliens and Nazis, but there you go. I hit all the buzzwords. So thanks for listening to your Antarctic update.
So a new discovery. Antarctica.
Antarctica. Climate crisis. Penguins.